This is Toronto, Ontario. It's a city that takes its sports quite seriously. And if you're lucky enough to live here by the shores of Lake Ontario, you're enjoying that elusive dream season. And Toronto fans are confident that the best is yet to come. The beloved Maple Leafs are off to a 5-0 start in the new NHL season. And with a new NBA franchise on its way, it won't be long before Shaq brings down the house.
It is Sportsfeld Storytime. We are going back this week to start off the new year. We are going back to where it all began for us as sports fans, really. We are going back to 1993, the defending World Series champion Toronto Blue Jays. Boy, oh boy, they are doing it again. And we, as children, me as a 7-year-old, and Jake is even younger than that, I want to say a 5-year-old? A 5-year-old?
Yes. Five, not quite 5. Because it would, oh yeah. Just five.
Just 5. Having no idea that this is what sports could be like, or this is that sports could be like anything like this, anything but this. This was all that we knew. The Blue Jays were amazing. The Blue Jays had just rolled through the American League to the tune of a 95-67 record. We talked about that in episode 1. Ricky Henderson added halfway through the year. Paul Molitor, the big offseason acquisition. John Allrood, maybe one of the best seasons we'll ever see as a member of this team. Whamco in full effect. White, Alomar, Carter, and Allrood. Tony Fernandez brought in the second half of the year. Come back. Ed Sprague, the hot young player. Juan Guzman, your ace. It had everything you would possibly need as a child. This is what I imagine kids who were like 7, 8 years old. This is how they'll remember the 2019 Raptors, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison, actually. Especially because it was only 2 years. Like, I was thinking when you were doing the intro, you're going to compare it to, like, this is what kids who grew up in, like, the 2000s in Boston was like. But they won too much. Mm-hmm. So they got shitty. You got 2 good years. I know the Jays were good for a long time before this, but 2 wins. And then you just get to enjoy it. And yeah, so I think you're correct.
And the Jays were good before this, but I don't remember that at all. Do you? I don't remember 1991 Blue Jays.
I was fucking 3 years old in 1991.
Yeah.
I know that I was watching.
Yeah.
Because I was a fan of baseball like immediately.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it. My only memory pre-93 is in the 92 ALCS against Oakland. I needed my parents to leave. I was at game 4. I want to say game 3, and we had to leave our seats because the fireworks after the home run scared me.
Boy,
because I was afraid of fucking everything as a child.
If that ain't parenthood, man.
Right? I would never let my child leave that game if I had a kid now. Like, you're staying, deal with it.
Literally, all you can do is say, "Yeah, I guess we're gonna leave."
It's the ALCS, you little bastard.
Boy, difficult. That's difficult. It's so funny. We talked about this last week about how obviously we were children with little tiny brains that are not fully developed, and we don't have, object permanence or the ability to remember large swaths of time. Okay, we had object permanence.
Yeah, how old do you think you get object permanence?
I don't know. I remember you. I remember object permanence being a big thing, sticking point for you for babies.
Oh yeah, that's why I think babies are useless.
Yes,
but like a 5-year-old has it.
Okay, not object permanence. Attack from all sides here. But we talked about how, despite how incredible they were, we don't really remember the regular season. Obviously, part of that is that we weren't staying up until 10:30 every night watching the Blue Jays play regular season games. But to further that point is, the 1992 ALCS that you just mentioned against Oakland has so many amazing moments, and it's so crystallized as the Jays taking this leap and finally becoming this great team. And the Alomar home run and all these great moments. I don't remember anything about the 93 ALCS. If you had asked me before we did this who they even played, I would not have immediately known it was Chicago White Sox.
I feel like that's partially because there wasn't, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but I feel like 92 has like the Alomar home run off Eckersley, which is like an iconic Blue Jays moment. That's like the Kawhi shot for the Jays in a way.
Yeah.
And I feel like the 93 ALCS, they just kind of won.
Yeah.
Like they won in 6 games, and it wasn't anything like particularly crazy. None of the games were particularly close. Every game was decided by at least 2 runs. So I feel like there wasn't that like real, like there weren't the moments to make them stand out like we remember other games from our youth.
And these were very clearly the top 2 teams in the American League this year. You said only none of the games were particularly close. Only 3 save situations over the course of the 6 games. The Blue Jays win 4-2. Dave Stewart, your ALCS MVP. They were taking on Frank Thomas, of course, and he was the MVP of the American League this year. He's fucking unbelievable, but he less WAR than our boy John Olerud. But regardless, they also had Bo Jackson. Some guys to remember. They had Jack McDowell, Bo Jackson, Tim Raines, Frank Thomas, Robin Ventura, Joey Cora, Ellis Burks, Tim Belcher, Ozzie Guillen, Lance Johnson, Jack McCaskill, Dan Pasqua. Some great names to remember there. But the Blue Jays, of course, they do win it in 6 games. We'll just sort of breeze over it here. The 7-3 in the first game, no recollection. Like, honest to God, when I was a kid, it just felt like they were just in the World Series and that was it. There was no
100%
difficulty. Juan Guzman got the call in game 1. 8 walks, 3 strikeouts, only gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. Jack McDowell got lit up a little bit, 7 earned runs, 13 hits. The Blue Jays offense was fucking amazing. What do you really want? Paul Molitor went deep, as he would do throughout the course of the offseason. The Jays also took game 2, 3-1. That is why, partial the reason why Dave Stewart wins your ALCS MVP. He goes 6, gives up 1. Al Leiter comes on in relief, and then Dwayne Wardo gets the save. This one, a lot less high scoring, but Alomar drives in a run. And then Fernandez and Borders drive in runs as well. Just some singles, not really only 2 doubles in the entire game, really no extra base hits the entire way. A real quiet one, a real pitcher's duel, as they would say. That one, the White Sox would get it back in game 3. They win that one 6-1. Pat Henkin gets lit up a little bit, only last 3 innings, give up 6 runs. And Wilson Alvarez throws a complete game on the other side. The Jays, they muster 7 hits still because they are an absolute killing machine, but they can never quite put it together, and they don't nothing for extra base, no power. Ricky Henderson double is the only extra base hit for the Jays in that game. A lot of 80s baseball, a lot of singles and things of that nature. White Sox tie it up in the next one. 7-4 is the win. This time it is Todd Stottlemyre getting his tits absolutely lit. 5 runs in 6 innings. Lance Johnson hits a home run. Devo hit a triple in that game, and Alomar had 2 doubles. The Jays offense continuing to rack up hits. They had 9 hits in that game, but not scoring runs. They would break out in the next one with runs in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th innings. A 5-3 win, 14 hits in this one. Everybody getting in on the hit parade. Ed Sprague driving in 2. The big takeaway for me so far, looking back at all these things, is just not a lot of home runs. Guys just don't hit home runs, really. It's wild.
A lot of, especially on this team, like a lot of home runs for the White Sox.
Yeah.
But like game 1, you have, I guess, Mulder hit 1 in game 1, nothing in game 2, nothing in game 3, 2 from the White Sox in game 4, 2 from the White Sox in game 5, 1 each in game 6. Like, yeah, agreed.
Alomar gets on base 5 times in this game because he is just that good at baseball. Jays take the series in the next one. It's 6-3, the win. Another win for Dave Stewart. He goes 7, gives up 2 runs, and finally a home run, Devon White in the 9th inning to seal it. As they come back, by the way, it was not come back, but they seal it. It was 3-2 going into the 9th, and the Jays score 3 in the 9th inning to bust it open and punch their ticket to the World Series.
to right field. Carter has room. And the Blue Jays are going back to the World Series.
And who awaits them in the World Series but the Gas House Gang, the Philadelphia Phillies. You mentioned the Kawhi shot. So beautiful that a lot of the worst moments in Philadelphia sports history have to do with the Toronto teams. It makes me happy.
I feel like this 93 Phillies team was probably the first team I ever hated. Outside of the ones like you grow up supposed to, like the Canadiens, obviously immediately because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're a Toronto fan. But the first, like, watching them makes me hate them team. Because I was a little too young for the Braves, and I kind of liked the Braves as a kid in the 90s. Like I was a Braves fan-ish for a minute. And like the Leafs were just kind of the Leafs and like hate the Habs, but like their big loss was to the Kings. And it's like, well, it's Wayne Gretzky, so you can't hate the Kings. Raptors didn't exist yet. Wasn't a soccer fan yet. So Argos, I didn't care. So I feel like I hated this Phillies team. Hated them. A lot of pieces of shit on this team.
Curt Schilling. You don't even need to, you needn't go much further than Curt Schilling.
And Curt Schilling and Lenny Dykstra.
And John Kruk.
And John Kruk and Mitch Williams.
Dirtbags. Every single one of them. The Blue Jays win this first game 8-5. Devon White again with a home run. John Allred hits a home run. Curt Schilling gets lit up. 7 runs in 6 1/3. Fuck you, Curt Schilling. Fuck you if you're listening. Goose won a lot better, but Al Leiter came in and closed the door. Blue Jays go up 1-0. Before we even dig into this, a lot of runs in this series. Holy cow, a lot of runs in this series.
I believe it was I could be wrong, but I think it was the most runs until Astros Dodgers a couple years ago.
I believe you were right, and that was a crazy World Series as well. ALCS MVP Dave Stewart went in game 2. They lose that game 6-4. Terry Mulholland gets the win. Paul Molitor 2 for 3. Joe Carter hit a home run. When I was a kid, it felt like Joe Carter hit a home run every single day. But
yeah, I remember when I guess around the time we started working at the Score, when like maybe a little before that, like when baseball analytics really became a thing and like analytics Twitter became a thing.
Right.
The like Joe Carter was actually bad argument that started was both infuriating to me, but also very confusing because like when I was a kid, Joe Carter was the best athlete on the planet.
Yeah.
And like just like was a superhuman who just crushed baseballs forever.
So true. Looking back at it, I was like, you mean he didn't hit like 45 home runs? I was like, no.
Learning that Joe Carter was like a good player and not a great one was genuinely shocking to me.
And he hit 33, 34, 35, but still, I would have thought he was like MVP level, and he was evidently nowhere ever close to that. Game 3, Blue Jays pistol whip, 10-3, right out of the gate. How fucking amazing is Paul Molitor? A triple and a home run. Paul Molitor went 20-20 in this year. He stole 20 bags at age 36. He stole 20 bases and hit 20 home runs. That's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
22
That's
and 22.
Good stuff.
And finished runner-up for MVP. You gotta love it. Some guy named Danny Jackson just got the brakes beat off of him while Pat Henkin went 6. A lot of like 6-inning early pulls. You got Cito Gaston, the guy who managed the bullpen. Also,
like just some crazy lineup management for this one that would just get shredded on Twitter if it existed, because it's National League. You don't have the DH. He moved Cito Gaston moved Joe Carter to first base, which would keep John Olerud out of the lineup. That was what he did in 92.
Yes.
In 93, Paul Molitor had to be in the lineup. Obviously, Paul Molitor had to be in the lineup. He put Paul Molitor at first base, removing John Olerud after the season he had
in
1993, which like you got to have Molitor in, no question. And I get that's a tough spot because Olerud was just a first baseman. But man, John Olerud, who hit 363 that year.
It's crazy.
Not in the lineup.
Maybe Molitor goes 3 for 4 and knocks in 3 runs and a home run and a triple. The next game, this is if we weren't doing the obvious, the touch 'em all Joe. The 1993 Game 4. This is one of the craziest games in the history of baseball.
1 ball and 2 strikes. The 1-2 pitch. Little looper. Long run for Dykstra. In right center. Can't get it. Borders around with the tying run. Henderson to the plate with the go-ahead run. 15-14 Toronto.
We get asked in mailbags relatively often, like, what sporting event do you wish you could have experienced as an adult?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think about what the tension that watching the Blue Jays in the playoffs in 2015 and 2016 felt like in my life as an adult. I cannot imagine being up 2-1 in the literal World Series and having to sit through this fucking game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jake. Because I think our instinct, of course, is to go through the record highs and the amazing single moments, but this game ends up 15-14. The Blue Jays score 6th in the 8th. I mean, you might never see anything like this again if you're a Blue Jays fan. Like, they had some crazy games in 2020 that were like low stakes, but Game 4 of the World Series, and they score 3 in the first, and the Phillies answer with 4. The Phillies then score 2 more to make it 6-3. The Jays then score 4 to make it 7-6, and then Phillies scores again to make it 7-7. Then Phillies scores 5 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. The Jays score 2 in the 6th, and 6 in the 8th inning. Just an unbelievable display, and they do it all without hitting a home run, by the way, if you can believe that.
I feel like I don't know if this is a fair comparison because different situations, but I remember in the 2019 Raptors series, Game 4 of the finals was actually kind of the most fun game because like they were up 2-1 and they like waxed them. They smoked the Warriors in Game 4. And so it was kind of like the celebration game. And it was a weekend night. And it was like the celebration game of like, holy shit, like they actually might do this kind of thing. But like, I can only imagine how that 8th inning, being in a bar in Toronto as they put up 6 to win 15-14 and go up 3-1 in the World Series. That would I don't know how you recover from that as a human being.
Crazy. It would be, you'd be unconscious. Like you'd
and there was a game the next day.
You'd be unconscious. Like this game took 4 hours and 14 minutes to complete a 9 inning game. Truly ridiculous. That 8th inning is Joe Carter singles, Olerud walks, Molitor with a double that scores Carter, Fernandez singles that scores Olerud, Pat Borders walks. By the way, Mitch Williams is in this game at this point. Pat Borders walks, Ed Sprague strikes out, and that is 2 out. Ricky Henderson drives in 2 with a single. Then Devo triples, scoring 2 to make it 15-14. Just like, you'll never see it again in your whole life. You'll never see it again. And Devon White, oh my God, he's everywhere in this fucking box scores. Always. As you said, the very next night, Game 5, a nail biter, the exact opposite of the previous night. It's a 2-0 Phillies win, each team with 5 hits. A real gem, I hate to say it, Curt Schilling throws a 9-inning, 5-hit complete game shutout, and then does not get into the Hall of Fame. Because fuck you, Curt Schilling. If you're listening to this, fuck you, Curt Schilling. That sets the stage, Jake, for where we will pick up next week, which is Game 6, October 23rd, 1993, 1 week before my 8th birthday. The Toronto Blue Jays at home, back in the Sky Dome after 3 games in Philly, taking 2 of 3 on the road. Back home at the Sky Dome. The starting pitching matchup is Terry Mulholland against Smoke, Mr. Dave Stewart. Anything could happen. The craziest thing you may ever see. It's 1993 World Series, Game 6, next time on Sportsfeld Storytime.